Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? A couple of things to start off before we get into this segment from my podcast, Tech and Tea with Joshua Vergara. Now, first of all, YouTube is doing something kind of special where when you put time codes in the description, it will actually create those chapters for you in the progress bar of the video itself. And the reason why that is interesting for this video is because this is a segment I took out of my podcast in which I actually unbox live on Instagram Live the Moto Edge Plus. Nick Gray, my guest, the editor-in-chief of Fandroid, goes through the specifications and a little bit of discussion about this phone with me in this podcast segment, so you can consider our discussion as a bit of a first impression / hands-on video as I go through more of this phone over the next week or so before my final review goes out on Pocket Now. But then you might notice in the progress bar that there's a section at the end. I added something a little bit special for you YouTube followers of the podcast. I made a bit of a slideshow of pictures that I have taken so far with the Moto Edge Plus. Aside from the actual specs of the camera, I'm not going to talk too deeply about the quality of the pictures here. I'm going to save all that information for the final review. Again, it's going to be at Pocket Now. So enjoy this segment from my podcast, Tech and Tea with Joshua Vergara. If you haven't followed the podcast yet, do so using any of your favorite podcasting apps. Let's go ahead and jump in. Live unboxing here, but I'm recording it above. Let me get this out of the way because it could ruin everything. All right, so we're back, and it's time to unbox the Moto Edge. But also, since I'm editing this for the YouTube version, I'm going to try something a little bit weird. This is really corny and cheesy, but did you, so you're following all of the Moto Edge stuff right now. Like, what things, as I'm starting the unboxing, what kind of stuff have you heard about it? Like, how excited are you for a new Moto flagship?
Just the fact that they are doing a flagship is exciting in and of itself. So you want me to run through the specs for those who might not be?
Yeah, go for it.
Or you want to do that?
No, you go for it.
So for the specs of the phone, it's running pretty much everything else that you've been looking at for other flagship devices this year. You get a 6.7-inch display. I believe it's an OLED display with a 90 hertz refresh rate, which is kind of nice. The resolution, though, isn't super high. I believe it was Full HD Plus. It's not a Quad HD Plus display. And then on the inside, of course, a Snapdragon 865 processor, which means 5G. It does have sub-6 and millimeter wave support on Verizon, which is nice. And a quad camera setup, right, with a 108 megapixel sensor, which is the same one that Samsung is using on the Galaxy S20 Ultra.
This is actually a pretty attractive phone. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a certain.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit lopsided with the camera bump on the side, though.
A little bit.
Stuck it in the middle. And that one's a thick one too. Look at that. 5,000 milliamp hour battery.
Okay, that I was about to say that's one of the reasons why it's pretty thick, but also.
Headphone jack.
Headphone jack right there.
Imagine that. A massive phone can fit a headphone jack.
A flagship with the headphone jack, and now everyone's just like,
oh my gosh. But apparently Motorola says it has the loudest loudspeakers that any smartphone has ever had.
And I appreciate that, but I just have to say, if it's loud is one thing, but it's got to sound good. Yeah. All right, so as it turns out, the unboxing experience is very simple. You just get this and a charger, but we can talk a little bit about, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit here. We can talk about this charger. It says turbo power, but we're spoiled now by a lot of manufacturers going above and beyond what they're charging. This is an 18 watt charger. It's not like 30, 40, 65. So for a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, I think that some people like us, we get spoiled by fast charging, wireless fast charging, OnePlus 8 Pro and whatnot. That's 30 watts. So if you have a big battery and you need that thing topped up in a hurry, not going to happen here. 18 watts is fine. Don't get me wrong.
18 watts is going to take 2 hours to charge that thing.
It's going to take a while, yeah. It's still going to take a little bit. So I don't know if turbo power is really the way you should be saying that 18
it was turbo power. When did they first start their turbo power branding? Wasn't it like 2015?
It was a while back, yeah, and they kind of stuck to it. And 18 watt is still, I mean, okay, to be fair, maybe there's some sort of like safety thing, keeping it at 18 watts, not going too far out. But, I think we've proven at this point that you can have really high wattage charging.
You can do it a lot faster than that, yeah.
All right, well, that was a really quick unboxing. But
No headphones in the box to go along with
no headphones. Yeah, no headphones in the box. That's a good point.
I mean, honestly, if you're buying a phone for a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, you have headphones already that you want to use with it.
All right, so we're gonna do the first boot up here actually, and then I'll just do some B-roll for the rest of the unboxing. I'm also thinking, by the way, weather is finally getting better here in SoCal. It's getting warmer and warmer. It's actually going to get too hot by the end of the week, but I'm gonna go out and take a few pictures with this that we can get like kind of a first look at it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing on.
Will it say hello Moto?
I don't know, but I do have a couple of hot takes on that now that you reminded me. But look at this thing. It's a pretty tall device. You get the curves on the side. And yeah, I mean, I hope that the palm rejection is good because we've been having problems with that on other phones. Ooh, Edge Plus, look at that. Now, we were just talking, there, hello. And it is a Verizon exclusive, hole punch on the front there, as you can see. And, oh, there's a SIM in here. Sweet. Okay, cool.
So
I was worried
get 5G.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have millimeter wave at your house?
Probably not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
Yeah, I watched somebody did a speed test with it on millimeter wave. I think it was Verizon, and they were getting 1.8 gigs down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Which is
that
dope.
is fast.
I will say, just sort of a hot take real quick, I'm already enjoying the handling. Again, like I was telling our audience before you came on, I actually really prioritize a good quality of life on the daily. Quality of life for me is not precariously hand gymnasticking all over the place, which officially is now that's the name of this podcast episode. Hand gymnasticking all over the place.
Hand gymnasticking.
But yeah, I do like this. It's a taller phone than it is wide, which is pretty true for quite a few flagships these days. But when you look at stuff like the S20 Ultra, for example, or even the OnePlus 8 Pro, which manages to still be fairly easy to use despite being somewhat wider because it has a larger display, like it's good. But this one being a little bit taller, I actually kind of adore that. Other phones that kind of do that, like the Sony Xperias and whatnot, those are just like tall boys. Those are just tall phones.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost got like a waterfall thing going on here. So like it's quite the curve on the display.
It's a lot more than what the OnePlus is.
There's always, as Nick knows, there's always a ton of games that I install on here, so I take up all of the space immediately.
At least you get 256 gigabytes of storage.
There you go. Ooh, look at that. Look at that synergy we have. Look at those segues that we're making.
Look at that.
Take a look at this live wallpaper. So as I move it, it's the waves are moving with it.
Oh, it's waves,
but it
back
stops.
and forth. That's nice.
But it stops when I'm it's a little bit odd. I like it, but the fact that it stops, like time stops.
It should be wavy for an extra second or two.
Yeah. Also, is it weird that I did not pick Disney Plus, but Disney Plus is on here already. And Netflix.
So isn't Verizon doing free Disney Plus accounts for its customers?
They're the ones who are doing it? Okay, yeah, that's true.
So that makes sense for it to be pre-installed.
And yeah, it's just all the same stuff. And I wonder if this there you go. So the chop still works. So
chop for flashlight.
Chop for flashlight.
Double twist for camera.
Get into the camera here, and here. You guys can see the first photo that's a lot of modes. So the ultra high res mode is here. That's the 108. So you do get that. So we're going to go ahead and just do here. You can see me live do the first selfie on on this phone. Always a smug face. You always got to do the smug face. My first hot take for it is I enjoy the handling, but we'll see where this almost waterfall display lands as far as my just the ergonomics of it all, because Moto's obviously already using, I've already seen it a couple of times, the edges glow when you get a notification. That's cool. But as far as the actual handling on the daily, we'll see what happens over the next week or so. I'm going to take this out with me. I will get some preliminary shots for my... Now, see, that's the thing. Since the unboxing experience was so bare bones, I have to add more content to that video. So I'm like, okay, let's do some first camera shots or something like that.